Hello and welcome back to the A to Z of Football podcast. I'm Alex the A, you have Zach the
Z.
How quick is that now, first of all? Mainly because we're in the same room.
We're in the same room, in the same studio, with 3 different camera angles.
What is going on here? Yes.
3 different camera angles. 1,
2, and 3. Boom.
We're all on camera.
And you know what as well? The camera quality... You see, I've got too many cameras now. I've got too many bloody cameras, but...
Talk to the audience, Alex, come on.
Camera 1, hello. The quality should be better because it's a nice camera. Shout out to Jack who let us borrow it. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing, you know, depending on how you see us. But there you go. We've upgraded slightly, I would say, from a single.
We're building this podcast up slowly but surely, and I mean better audio, better quality, better graphics. Maybe even a blog, which we're thinking about.
Toying with it, aren't we? Toying with it. So there you go.
But we're back after a long-awaited return of 30 people. And a lot has happened. I actually looked earlier, the last podcast we did, like, the Premier League hadn't even started this season. So a lot has happened, but we'll catch you all up to date with the ongoing season in the Premier League. And have a little bit of chat about how the teams are doing, what we expect from all the teams in the Premier League, and it's international break at the moment, the second international break, so we've got a couple of Nations League games coming up as well for our England boys, and we'll have a little chat about the sort of players we want to be seeing in England, and is Southgate the right guy for the job? Big conversation here on the NZ Football podcast.
Let's go.
And we'll dive straight into it. We're 8 games in to the new season, Alex. And what is your verdict so far?
I mean, look, from a neutral point of view, very, very exciting. Look, we've got... No one at the moment can really predict who's going to win. First of all,
that is the best thing.
Obviously, people look at Liverpool and Man City as the 2 teams in the last couple of years that have really pushed it. But I mean, where are Man City this season? Liverpool, the injuries they've had. I mean, Joe Gomez again today, or was it yesterday? He's now out for the rest of the season.
Hamstring injury or something.
Imagine if you're a Liverpool fan. No, like you're looking at Jamie Carragher to come out of retirement and help you out, mate. But so as a neutral, if I got my neutral hat on. There you go. I'm loving it because goals galore at the moment, for one. Like lots of surprise teams, and it's fantastic to watch. Apart from Burnley.
Yes, poor Burnley.
So poor old Burnley still haven't got a win.
2 points off the first 7 games.
2 points in the first 7 games. You know, better than 1. Better than old Sheffield United 1 point after 8. Look, I'm not gonna get bogged down in that.
It gives you hope. That's all that matters.
It does give me hope, and. You know what? As we said, like this isn't a Burnley podcast, so like who cares about Burnley, eh? Well, I do, but not enough to take over. Let's put it that way. No, it's been fantastic, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, obviously, we'd love the fans there, as any.
I know that is the one.
We'd love to be in the stadiums ourselves, but we. Have seen 8 games, 8 weeks now we're in. The top 4, so anyone who needs to be told, not that you will do, but the top 4 currently is Leicester are in front with 18 points, followed by good old Tottenham.
Yeah.
Southampton.
He's been insufferable. He's been absolutely insufferable since Tottenham started doing well.
We watched the Burnley Tottenham game together, didn't we? And that was a tense 90 minutes.
But we weren't friends for that 90 minutes, were we, mate?
Absolutely.
Friendships were out the window.
Absolutely.
Out the window.
So yeah, we've got Leicester running the lead at the moment. Tottenham 1 point behind. Southampton and Liverpool also taking up those other 2 top 4 spots. Not really what you'd expect from a top 4 8 games in, because sort of it gets to like 10 game mark, doesn't it? And things sort of you start seeing how it's going to go that season.
They start to fit into place, don't they? Where you think they're going to fit into place.
You could really sit here now and say teams like Southampton, Wolves, Everton, even though they've had a 3-game defeat streak. You know, all these teams that we sort of put mid-table sort of last year, they're all They're all coming out.
They're all coming out, aren't they?
They're all coming out to play.
All coming out to play. And you know what's funny? It's just like teams like, you know, Leeds and Wolves, and especially Wolves. Like, I thought Wolves has been okay this year, their normal selves. And I think, as you said to me, this has been their best start apparently to a league campaign in
I was shocked at
4 or 5 years or so. I was like,
hear that. This is their best start to a Premier League season, and yet it's felt just kind of like
you know, like you just look at them. Like Wolves are doing sort of what they do, like finishing sort of 10th to 6th type thing. Like you felt like that was their form.
They lost 4-0 to West Ham.
Oh gosh, yeah.
That sort of result is kind of you go, oh, Wolves aren't doing it, but then you look and they've got 13 points. They're only 5 points off the top.
There you go.
So it is definitely all to play for at the moment. Shout out to Southampton though, haven't we? How have you made of them this season?
Well, I try to look at Southampton with a neutral point of view once again, and I do like them. I can't get on the Southampton. I can't get on the Hasenhüttl train as much as other people, only because obviously Burnley had Danny Ings for quite a while. Everyone loved him at the club. Everyone still really likes him, but just seeing him doing so well, and then his strike partner Che Adams, we're about to get last January transfer window and missed out. Went to Southampton, is now looking very good again. And it's I don't know. It's just I have a
bit of a personal.
You know what? Yeah, it could be. I'm just jealous. I'm going to be honest. I'm just jealous because 4 years ago, like I looked at Southampton as one of those teams similar to Burnley, and we were better than them in most aspects. And now they're just looking great, and yeah, again, keep my neutral hat on, which I think needs to stay on. Tell me if I'm taking it off, but they are just looking so composed and like they don't care who they're playing. They just play their football, which I really like. James Ward-Prowse is an absolute baller, baller. Like I really hope he starts against Ireland tonight. Actually, that is the day we're recording this. By the way, we're not sure when this is going to go out yet, obviously, but we're recording this in the international break. I really like James Ward-Prowse.
Is it Northern Ireland or Ireland tonight?
It is Ireland.
Yeah, because Northern Ireland have got Euro playoffs.
Yeah, of course, and Scotland.
Scotland have the chance to be in the Euros for the first time since 1996. We've never even seen
the first major tournament since 1998, I think, isn't it? They haven't been in a major tournament since the 1998 World Cup. So, good luck to all the Scots out there.
Big game for the Scots.
Hopefully,
but we will get into the international friendlies very shortly. Let's move down the Premier League table a little bit now. We're sort of 8 games in, and like we say, you get to 10 game mark, and things sort of start levelling out. People go into the slots that they're sort of accustomed to. One team that hasn't done that though is Manchester United, who currently have 7 points. Or is it 10 points now? 10 points after 8 games. Now that is pretty poor.
It's pretty poor. It is pretty poor.
They're already 8 points off the top.
For a club of Man United's stature, it's very poor, isn't it? Look, I think I had a lot of I was really backing United to do well this season. You know, like the form they had at the end of last season. I thought, like, you know, Pogba, Bruno Fernandes is obviously two huge names in there. Like that's a midfield that, technicality wise, is probably the best 2 in midfield you could have in the Premier League, or you know, very close to others anyway. But something's going on at Man United which isn't nice. Like Pogba not starting, I'm not sure if that's his problem or Ollie's problem with him, but that's a crazy situation for a world class. I think Pogba's a world class player. He doesn't unlock it all the time, but
he's definitely shown it.
He's definitely shown it, and I think he has been a good player for Man United. If you look at his whole career with them, I mean, it's just the defensive problems, isn't it? It really, like, poor old Harry Maguire. I do feel sorry for Harry Maguire. I do. I know he's a bit of a meme.
Not really worth that 80 million price tag.
That's the thing. This is the thing that like frustrates me, because obviously he didn't choose to be sold for 80 million, would he? Like that's just what he went for. But you, like, for a world class. There you go. For a world class centre back, you can't if you go for 80 million, you have to think of yourself as a world class centre back, and he's just not. He's, in my eyes, is a very average Premier League player who can't cope with.
I think it's fair to say we think he's good. Like I don't think he's bad, but we're not saying he's not worth 80 million.
He's not worth 80 million, and he's not Man United
maybe.
quality. I mean, you look at the legends of Man United centre backs. You've got Vidic and Ferdinand in there, two of the Premier League greats. And when they bought Maguire, thought they could possibly put him on the train to being one of those legends, English, commanding centre back, could really sort of take them back to where they belong. And he just seems like there's a mistake in him every single time he's near the ball or around his own area. So I mean that's just where it lies, isn't it? I think they will pull through in terms of, I think they will challenge for the top 4 this season, but they don't want to be doing that again. They don't want to be challenging for the top 4 again. That's not what they want. And especially now when Pochettino's out there and clearly ready to come back to the Premier League.
This is the interesting thing about Pochettino. People are actually having a debate at the moment about whether Poch should be going to Manchester United or Manchester City, because another team that hasn't really had the best start but are doing a little bit better is Manchester City. They have 13 points, something like that now.
Yeah, they're going along nicely.
They're sort of mid-table currently. Obviously, the table's still very tight from first to bottom. But yeah, it's an interesting one, Pochettino.
That is an interesting one, because I think the argument is, obviously, I think if he went to City, there'd be pretty much unlimited funds for what he wants to do with the squad. And I think obviously one of the concerns he had at Tottenham, and possibly one of the reasons why he didn't quite get to the highest level of winning a major trophy, was because he didn't get the funds he wanted, and he made that quite clear in some of the interviews he did. At Man City, he'd get that, no doubt, and he'd get all the money to play with, and he could build his perfect squad. At Man United, he might not get that. Just judging off what we've seen in the last transfer window of Sancho, it was clear Ollie wanted him. It was clear the whole of the squad wanted him, but it never happened. But he would have the project of bringing United back to the top. And I don't think there's a better football project out there.
I think on a historical level, I mean, it is huge, isn't it? Manchester United is still arguably the biggest club in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe not apart from Real Madrid.
Maybe, but there's no doubting in my mind that if for a manager to have the chance to turn around Manchester United's fortunes and bring them back to the top, bring them back to Fergie days, is, I would say, one of the greatest challenges. It'll be flipping hard, no one's saying it won't be, but if he did it and succeeded, then that's just one of the best things you can achieve as a manager, I think.
For you personally, would you rather Poch went Man United or City?
I would like to see him be challenged at Man United, because I think if he did go to City, I think it's more ready-made for him, and I think not that that's a bad thing. That's what managers dream of, but I think he's a man. Obviously, he has ambition.
He's the type of manager that likes that.
That's the thing. He likes ambition. That's what he did with Spurs. He took them from a mid-table to top six, or fringe the top 6 team, and made them into a steady Champions League team.
Our team did change over that 5 years, but not massively. When he turned up, Lloris was still in goal. Lloris is still in goal now. Harry Kane came from the youth.
Yeah.
Dele Alli came from Milton Keynes. There was not a huge amount of world class. Eric Dyer again. There wasn't a huge amount of investment. So these players, none of them. They're world class players now, some of them. But when Pochettino was in charge, no way were they.
No.
And
even bringing him in Son in, who at the time when you bought him was a good player in the Bundesliga, and now in my opinion an absolute cert of a world class player that he's got there. But
absolutely. So for me, I'd rather see him go to Manchester City, only because I don't like Manchester United, and obviously Pochettino relates to Tottenham, and if Pochettino can do well with a team that I dislike but not as much, then I would want that. So United, City, if you're listening, pick Poch, okay? That's what I'm saying.
There you go. I think it would be lovely to have him in the back in the Prem as well. And I think he really like he did. Did you see? I'm not sure if you saw the Monday night football thing where he was on. It's clear he wants to, and he's just looking for that right project. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that.
So you and I talked a lot about Premier League predictions, sort of in that break between the end of last season and the start of this season. Obviously, we're not going to do all the predictions now because that will take forever, and especially as everything is sort of up in the air in the Premier League at the moment. It is very exciting times. What team will finish off with the Premier League now? What team do you think?
Don't do that. Don't do that. Right.
People should keep an eye on. Not who will win, not who will be relegated. Not like that.
Okay.
What team do you think will surprise?
Well, I mean, like still top 4 or still the title or something like that. What team do you think has the potential to do that?
I think the team who has the potential to break into the top 6 is Southampton. It is Southampton. Shout. It is because, and like even their defensive buys, like buying Carl Walker-Peters, that's such a like.
I rate.
I really do, and like getting him for 12 mil is like in today's market for a young English player, it's good business, you know. And I just think the way they just play fearless football and score a lot of goals, and when you've got two Ings especially. Ings, I'd say, is one of the best strikers in the Premier League at the moment, and Che Adams, who's gaining a lot of confidence, with both of those up top, and Ward-Prowse behind. It really is like.
Even McCarthy in goal, who you sort of rate as an average keeper, he's made some massive saves,
and he's really stepped up because remember he was number 2 to Fraser Forster for a long time, and then he's come in and he's made himself that number 1. And even like players like Vestergaard, who you sort of hear of in the Premier League, but they've started making a name for themselves as well. It's like a really commanding, strong centre back. So I think Southampton break into the top 6. I was going to say Aston Villa, but
because they're doing incredibly well as well. They beat the champions 7-2, and that seems so long ago.
We haven't even talked about of course. But so many results we haven't talked about.
Aston Villa currently have 15 points. And
with a game in hand.
With a game in hand, and they are 3 points off the top. If they win and other teams drop points, Aston Villa are going top of the table. Bear in mind, they only stayed up in the Premier League last season due to a goal line technology error. They should not. Yeah. If goal line technology had not had its one mistake ever, then Aston Villa would be in the Championship.
Football.
We wouldn't expect Bournemouth to be doing this well if they were still in.
Yeah. Football, eh? Football. It's a crazy game. Go on then. What's your shout?
At the start of the season, I was gonna say Everton just because Ancelotti and all that.
And they did start obviously very well.
They did start very well, and there's no reason why they can't still do well, or at least challenge for Europe. But they have lost 3 in a row, and like to easy games as well. Like not massive games. They lost to Newcastle. They lost to a struggling Manchester United side. It's
Southampton as well.
Southampton as well. So I'm not really on that train anymore. Southampton, literally, they lost they lose to Spurs, and is that it?
They lost to Spurs and they lost to Crystal Palace on the opening day of the season, I believe. They lost, and that's actually more impressive, isn't it? Because they lost their opening 2 games of the season. Then I think I'm pretty sure they're unbeaten since then.
I'll tell you what. Obviously, Leicester won the cup, but I think Leicester are sort of in that conversation from now on. Anyway.
I think
Wolves would say are normally in that conversation as well. Southampton are the surprise package.
Yeah,
I really want them to.
Yeah, I think also shout out to Leeds as well. I think Leeds, look, they're a team that
I don't know about Leeds.
They're a team that they could turn up to Man City, let's say, and win 3-0, or a team that could turn up to Burnley or Sheffield United and lose 2-0 easily. Like I think they're so topsy-turvy that
at the moment, would you?
Oh gosh, I need that. Help a brother out, Leeds. Help your northern mates out. But it's it's Bielsa, isn't it? Like, he just plays a certain way of football that just produces exciting games. You know, they beat Aston Villa 4-1, and then
true, yeah.
lost 4-1 to Crystal Palace. Like, how do
this season's
that's what I mean.
Mental.
How do you like?
I just hope Spurs capitalise.
Oh gosh, yeah, there you go. I mean, talking of surprises, I think title challenge wise, I've see no reason why Spurs could not put up a title challenge.
Well, I know only one reason why we couldn't, and that's because of Spurs.
Well, no, yeah, but that's just you. That's just Spurs fans being Spurs
pessimistic.
But
there's a lot of people in the shout this year. I genuinely think it's not Liverpool, Man City, maybe more so Man City. They got to think about just getting Champions League at the moment.
Oh.
Same with Arsenal. They're in trouble. They've lost 4 games. They've only got 12 points. Arsenal haven't done well either. There's some big teams that have not started this season well.
Every time Arsenal think that they get a little bit of momentum and they think they're going to start pushing on, and I do think they should stick with Arteta, because I do like him. I think he's going to do good things. We've talked about this before, but you can't defend a top 6 team at home losing 3-0 to Aston Villa. However good Villa have been this season, like, let's not take that away from them, and they were fantastic. You're still losing 3-0 at home to a team that got that were very nearly relegated
away.
Just after you beat Man United away for the first time in 14 years, and that must frustrate Arsenal fans. So, I mean, I'm frustrated, and I don't even care about Arsenal.
Seeing
but,
inconsistency.
It's just like you're like, right, okay, great. You beat Man United away. Now let's take that momentum, and then you lose at home. That's Arsenal.
It's such a Spursy thing to do, which is the really funny thing.
That is the irony is tip top, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some big teams who are very inconsistent this season, and that leaves the window open for a shock winner and maybe even some shock contenders for European football.
There we go.
With Europe in mind, Alex. The Nations League is back.
Nations League
for the next week or so. Obviously, people be aware, England's group has Belgium, Iceland and Denmark in it. Last time round, England hosted Belgium, and we got a win. It was a great win. Gritty win.
Yeah.
And then we next couple of days later, we went to Denmark and lost. So
we lost at home.
Yeah. So talking about inconsistencies.
Yeah.
England.
England.
They've got Belgium and Iceland. We've got to travel to Belgium and have Iceland in Wembley. We're currently 3rd by 1 point. Obviously, we want to do well. We came 3rd place last time around in Nations League overall, not in the group.
Yeah.
Where do you think England stand at the moment? Because we normally think England normally have quite a strong squad, but we've got a goalkeeper in Pickford who's inconsistent to say the least. We've got Maguire who's not having a good time at the moment. In the midfield, Southgate seems reluctant to pick Jack Grealish, despite the fact that Jack Grealish is the best option at the moment.
By far.
I mean, the only saving grace is Harry Kane up front.
Yeah.
Just chuck some opinions at that.
I think the fact that there's even a debate over Grealish being in the team is, well, in Southgate's head anyway, is shocking. Like, look at him this season. He's signed a new contract at Villa, which I was hoping he'd go to one of the big 6. So I wanted to see himself progress, but I just rate him so high. He's now captaining Villa like he was last year, and he is the epitome of how they've done this season. Like, without him in that squad, there'll be nowhere they're doing anywhere near as well. The way he carries the ball, he's just so calm and mature. Like, remember how we always talk about English youngsters when they're 18, 19? We said, look, if he matures, then he's going to be a great player. And Grealish, obviously, there's been a lot of stuff in his personal life that is questionable. Like, when he crashed his car during lockdown and stuff after going to a party, and he's done a few things which are questionable off the field.
Caught twice at party.
There you go. But on the field, he is proving himself. Completely proving himself, and I just think, just give him his chance, and I'm sure he'll grab it. I mean, like when he started against Wales in the last friendly, he was the best player on the pitch by far, and then got dropped for the game against Belgium. And I was like, come on, man! Like, is Mason Mount really doing that well? And I don't. The thing is, I don't like talking about, because I do like Mason Mount. I think he is a good player, but he's not the same quality as Grealish. And I find I just find that the fact that I don't think Southgate will start him against Belgium, because I think he's just stubborn in that way, and that's something that I'm not a fan of Southgate.
Do you think it's a matter of discipline though? Because it's been reported in the past month or so that there's been meetings in England camp about discipline. Harry Kane taking meetings and sort of giving everyone a bollocking essentially about how people are behaving. Obviously, Greenwood, Foden, Grealish in the past. Do you think that's why Southgate has such a problem with Grealish, because of his discipline outside of football, which I think ultimately should be punished at the time, but then should be let go. If he's playing so well on the pitch, and you know that last Belgium game, Denmark game, Southgate brought on Sancho, and he did nothing.
Yeah,
and he didn't. I don't think he brought Grealish on.
The problem is with Southgate is I think he doesn't. I think he's still trying. Like, don't get me wrong, the World Cup was one of the greatest summers of my life. I loved it, and he was a large part of that. Obviously, him leading that team. I think he's trying to sort of keep on living off that in the way that he played the same team pretty much throughout the whole World Cup, and then he played a team. He started another little system during the Euro qualifiers and stuff, and that started working really well for him. But he just doesn't have the ability to adapt. It feels like, or if he does, it's little by little by little. Where I think with this England team, there's so much room for manoeuvre to make us miles better.
There's lots of competition.
Lots of competition for places, which is great. But I don't know, always starting Kieran Trippier, no matter what he does. You've got Ben Chilwell, who's banging them in for Chelsea, and Alexander-Arnold, two quality right fullbacks, and he'll probably start Kieran Trippier.
Should just say that Arnold's injured at the moment.
That's very true. But then you've got the likes of Reece James, Wan-Bissaka, Kyle Walker, I think is done well at City, and apart from when he's touching people in the box, tripping them up and everything. But I think he's just a little bit too stubborn for his own good. And in a big game, and I have confidence that they'll prove themselves in it. But that's my opinion. Where do you stand? Is that how do you see him? What do you see him doing for the Belgium game? Because obviously that's the most important one at the moment. And what would you do?
I think you have to look at it as a must-win. To get top of that group, you have to win that game.
Is the format 2 go through, or is it 1 still? I can't remember, because last year there were only 3 in the group, so I'm not sure how it works.
It's 4 in our group.
That's what I mean, but then there's
was it 3 last time?
It was 3 because it was just. I'm pretty sure it was just Spain.
The Nations League is a very strange tournament.
It was just Spain and Croatia, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was. It was very difficult. I mean, we beat Croatia and came top of that group. There's 4 this time. I think you have to go at that Belgium game more than the Iceland game, because I think Iceland's a winnable game anyway. And I think Iceland have lost every game, so they don't really have anything to play for.
I think they have.
I don't think they beat Denmark.
We beat them in the last.
So I think you have to put everything on this Belgium game. De Bruyne will be back, I think, or Courtois back. When we beat them last time, Mignolet was in goal. So
take it with a pinch of salt. Basically.
Take it with a pinch of salt. And I think you have to play the players that are on the top of their form now.
I think once he has a plan in his head, it's very, very difficult for him to admit that he couldn't be, he might possibly be wrong about it. And that's not to say he hasn't done well. I think he has, and I do think he's a good manager. But as I said, just his inability to not start certain players and have favourites over others, and like Jordan Pickford, for example. Like, come on, like how is he still the number one England goalie when you've got Henderson? There you go. Like when you got Henderson and Pope are actually good shot stoppers, and do
Pickford in defence if Maguire's no good.
Literally, tell me about it.
Actually, no, don't. After that challenge against Liverpool,
yeah, he'll get a red card, mate. Trust me. But that's what I'm looking on it. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we get on against Belgium. To be honest, what are your thoughts on it, Zach? Like,
I think the Belgium game will be close. I don't think Belgium will walk all over us, or we're going to walk all over them, because it's normally a good game, England Belgium. But I think you're totally right. Southgate does seem stuck in his 2018 ways. I mean, the only real difference I see that he's made is he's not playing Jesse Lingard anymore.
Jesse Lingard.
Yeah. He will play Pickford in goal, despite the fact he's playing Pope in the friendly.
I think he will.
Which is ridiculous when you look at Pope's stats over the past year have been, frankly, really incredible. Dean Henderson hasn't had enough game time this season for me to be able to pick him, although I do rate him highly. I think Pickford is good. He does turn up sometimes, but
once in a blue moon.
I just don't see what's wrong with Nick Pope. He's 6'6", lanky, dives really well, has steady hands, it's good at kicking it long. You know, he can pass out from the back. He's just not going to play Barcelona style with it. You know, I just worry that Southgate doesn't fully know what he's doing.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? Like, you do start wondering that.
All Southgate seems to know is, these are my formations in 2018.
Yeah.
I know Harry Kane can score.
Yeah. And that's the trouble, isn't it? And obviously having a world class player like Harry Kane is obviously very helpful, because it does bail you out a lot of the time. But for me, you've got to start Pope. You have to start Grealish. Also, I think someone else put out a really good tweet. I can't remember who it was, but it was basically along the lines of, congratulations to Jude Bellingham. He's just been selected. Obviously 17, that's a fantastic achievement. Although, and you know, he's a very talented boy, but really selecting him over the likes of, you know, Barkley and Maddison, who have done really well so far in the Prem.
It's insane.
I
agree with that tweet completely. Bellingham is a class player, and he's so young and he's proved it.
Yeah.
But the fact that he seems to get picked so easily, and Grealish just has to climb like Mount Everest to get a cap. I just don't know where Southgate lies.
I think it's almost like Southgate tries to be a bit trendy. Do you know what I mean? Like, he tries to sort of, you know, do things that people might not expect and sort of hope it works, instead of just doing almost like what's staring him at the face. Like, you know, like Maddison. Like, I mean, yeah, he didn't start the first few games, but he's still class, and he's still done really well so far. And you got Ross Barkley performing really, really well. The ironic thing for me is that last year, when he picked Barkley and Barkley was starting matches for England, he was barely getting a game for Chelsea, or if he was, you know, he was coming on at 30 minutes.
I like Ross Barkley.
I do like, but that's what I mean. But he wasn't playing. But now he's playing really well for Aston Villa. He doesn't get in the squad, and I'm just like, where's the logic behind that?
Like, does. Yeah.
It's frustrating as an England fan. However, I am actually confident.
Do you think we'll finish strongly in the Nations League?
I think we will. I think are these our last 2 games? I think they are, right?
Yeah, because we played Denmark twice already.
You know what? I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll beat Iceland at home. I mean, as you'd expect, as long as that match still goes on. Actually, we haven't had confirmation of that yet, have we? Because of the Iceland travel restrictions.
They're having problems.
I'm sure it'll get sorted out in the end, but that's obviously a little bit of a worry. But you know what, like, Belgium, although they're a fantastic team, I think Roberto Martinez is very, very fortunate to be in the job. I can't lie.
He's like Belgium's Southgate, isn't he?
He is.
I just don't know why we get to have these managers. There's some brilliant English managers. Why have we... I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I think if we don't do well in the Euros next year, and Southgate's still in the job by then anyway, which we'll expect he will be, if we don't at least get to the semi-finals of that, His time has to be up.
It does, and I don't want. The problem is like.
Now, don't get me wrong. It's no Hodgson losing to Iceland,
Yes,
but
yeah.
at the same time, this should be a team that should be.
We've got a really
pushing.
fantastic. Yeah, we've got a fantastic
Really
generation of
pushing.
players, and you don't want that to be skewed in any way, do you? Look, I mean, I don't want to sound like. It is start time to ask Southgate questions. I think it's completely fair. I think people calling for his head at the moment is a bit like over the top. I think you got to let him sort of play out and have that Euros to like have 2 major tournaments at least. But you're right, that is a very big tournament for him, and he can't sort of. We didn't go into the 2018 World Cup with any expectations at all, which I think really helped. But he has to now deal with the pressure of going to Euros, where we've arguably got one of the best squads there. I would say, after France, probably the second best squad there. Who lost 2-0 to Finland.
You know,
I'm trying to think of a French phrase that would describe that.
Mad.
Play mal, very sad as they say in France.
So we've got
Ireland game tonight, friendly. Obviously, would expect to win that one. Sort of, you know, he'll probably put out like a second team sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously Belgium, Iceland, Nations things. As we have talked about, we need to finish at least second in that group. For me personally to go, well, then you've done right there, because I appreciate Belgium's not easy. So. In that regard, I do. If Southgate continues to have problems with Grealish and trusting Nick Pope in his goal, then I really think that, like you say, Southgate, we've got to start asking questions about does he actually have a tactical idea, or is he just going with the same old?
Yeah, I agree. It would be hard to defend him after these run of 3 games, Ireland, Belgium, and Iceland, if he sticks with the same. If he sticks with the same team and they don't get the results, it'll be hard to still sit here and say I'd back him, because even if we lose those games, but he puts out Grealish, he drops Pickford, and we put in a good performance but lose, I still wouldn't be like, he doesn't know what he's doing, because he's clearly trying something that we want, like that most fans want to see. So that's how I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Right, there you go. We've sort of done it there, Alex. We've caught everyone up to date with our new lovely studio on the university campus. We hope everyone's keeping safe, obviously.
Because we are in another lockdown.
We are as well. We're using this for educational reasons.
There we go. Tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. Yeah, just.
League, the international break, and what we want to see from Mr. Southgate. Alex, finish it off.
Southgate, Grealish, get him in that team. I want Pope in that team. I want Trippier out of the team, all right? Harry Kane, Sancho, Sterling, get in my basket. 4-0 against Belgium. 7-0 against Ireland. Iceland, mate, they can't even get an 11 together probably. Let's go for 14-0 against them. That's pretty much the perfect weekend. Grealish to get a hat-trick against Belgium as well. Let's just
stamp down that mark.
And Bellingham to get a debut goal. Unbelievable scenes. But yeah, there's a bit of a short podcast today, guys, but really hope you've enjoyed. Obviously, we apologise that this has been the first one we managed to get out. We did try filming another one a bit earlier, but unfortunately something happened with the footage there, and this has been the first time since then we've been able to do it. But hopefully this should become a semi-regular thing, depending on university guidelines. We should be good to film in here every Thursday, and then just depending on our editing schedule with our editor George, we might have to start editing ourselves, which will be fun as well. So
we're in the process of learning.
In fact, we had a lecture today on it. So we will. Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes, but hopefully this is the start of something that could be very good.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Hope you enjoyed our new camera angles.
There we go.
And this should be edited up and all for you to view and listen to in the next week.
Brilliant. So everyone, thank you very much for watching the A to Z of Football podcast.